Thank you very much, Jonathan, for joining us on SBS Radio today.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Could you please, for our listener, just explain to us what is your organization, what is it called, and what are its aims?
Our organization is called EITAM, the Israeli Immigration Policy Center. We were founded in 2012 in order to promote sane and coherent immigration policy for the State of Israel, which did not have tools to deal with the large numbers of illegal and work migration and asylum seekers, what's called mixed migration, so that the situation on the ground is changing rapidly while Israel doesn't have that policy. So we founded this NGO in order to promote a policy that will protect the State of Israel's most basic interests while also protecting the rights of true refugees and asylum seekers.
When you say true refugees and asylum seekers, do I understand that not all are true refugees? Who are they?
What Israel is dealing with, the main issue that's on the news today, is the migration coming in, that came in and still coming in, but in smaller numbers from the southern border. As I said, it's called mixed migration because it's a mix of people who have come for economic reasons or to better their life, and people who are running from real persecution. Most of these people are coming from Eritrea and Sudan. While in Eritrea there's a quite harsh dictatorship, we cannot say that these people are running from real persecution or that they are real Geneva Convention refugees. And the other population is people coming from Sudan, while there are people who are coming from areas that are afflicted by war. The majority of the people in the EU, only around the average is only around 30% recognition rate as refugees. The majority of these people are not coming from real persecution.
Is there any process that assesses who is true refugee and who is just somebody who's coming to seek employment?
Every country, there's an RSD process. Israel has a RSD process. RSD is a refugee status determination process, if a person is really running for his life or not. Israel did not have that RSD process or did not have enough manpower and tools to deal with the massive influx of people. In the years 2010-11, Israel absorbed more people and gave refuge to more illegal migrants than any European country in absolute numbers. In 2011 alone came in 17,000 people, when Germany, that has 80 million people, 10 times larger than Israel, absorbed less than 16,000. So we're talking about a very large number of people. Israel, because it did not have the manpower, did not check each and every one's asylum requests. We pretty much let anybody come in and gave them a group status, which says that we will not deport you back to your country, but we will not check your refugee status. What Israel is doing today is that it has built semi-open detention centers where people can come and go, but they have to sleep in those detention centers and they cannot work. And the new law is saying that people will have to live in those centers until their asylum requests are processed. Whoever will be recognized as a refugee will receive asylum, and whoever is not will have to go home. The problem Israel has, which is unique, is that in the case of the Sudanese, Israel cannot deport people even if they are not refugees, because Israel has no relations with Sudan. And in the case of Eritrea, the government there, which a third of its GDP comes in from money sent back from migrants, does not cooperate with forceful return. What can be done is that people who are not refugees can go back of their own volition, and that will only happen if the government says that they cannot work. So what the government is trying to do is tell people, we're putting up these semi-open detention centers, we'll check your asylum requests in half a year. Whoever's a refugee will get it, and whoever's not will have to go back home, and he cannot work. The government has started doing now. That's also why we're seeing these large protests, partially because people, I think, were hoping that the government will let them stay indefinitely. And also we're seeing, sadly, that some of the people behind these protests are trying to turn a legal and humanitarian issue that every country in the world has to deal with. Israel is no different, and in many aspects Israel is no worse, into a political issue. And we're hoping that the government will start enforcing these new laws, start checking the asylum requests on a personal basis, give asylum to the people who deserve it and send home the people who do not.
Can you tell us some of the things that your organization is doing in order to get some way forward in the issue?
We do public diplomacy. We try to explain when the government's doing what it needs to, the government's position and Israel's position as a whole, because many times the government, not always the government, has done the right thing. We work with South Tel Aviv residents who have been deeply inflicted by this phenomenon. There have been whole communities that have been run down and run over, a population of mostly young men. We help them. Now we petitioned the High Court in order to force the new law and push the government to actually take some of these people out of the urban centers and into these detention centers. We do research, comparative research, legal research, and we try to promote the legislation in the Knesset.
Can you tell us of some of your achievements thus far?
We've helped promote a law that says that migrants living in Israel cannot send money back home in hope that while it will allow them to work, they can only take that money when they go back. We have joined for the first time the Supreme Court. We have brought the case of South Tel Aviv residents that had been shut down and wasn't heard for years. We brought it in front of the courts on many different cases. We have done groundbreaking research both on crime levels in the illegal migrant communities, and our comparative research has shown that Israel is dealing with a massive number. These facts were not known by a majority of the Israeli public. The situation was so bad that even Knesset research papers on this issue were not correct. Our researchers were submitted to the Knesset Research Center, and some of the research papers that the Knesset published were changed. We've had many successes, both in bringing the voice of South Tel Aviv reasons, making the need of an immigration policy for the state of Israel, helping bring it up to public discourse. We've also helped promote Israel's viewpoint, not only in Israel, but also around the globe. We do both public diplomacy, research, and legal work to help Israeli citizens. And we also hope that if the government will enact a fair policy, people who deserve refuge will get that status, and people who are not will go back home, and so Israel can deal in a better way with this issue.
So have you seen any that have left of their own free will?
In the past year, we've been seeing over 2,000 people have gone back of their own volition to Eritrea and Sudan. In December alone, over 300 people have gone back. What that proves, contrary to the viewpoint that many people here around the world, that many of the people can go back home, that they are not real refugees. And we're seeing that the government's policies have both stopped the influx of people coming in, not completely, but greatly reduced it. And also we're seeing a significant return of people who are going back of their own volition. A large proportion of them, many of them can go back and will go back if the government enforces its new policy.
Well, that sounds like a challenging but great work that you're doing. I'd like to congratulate you on the success and in trying to bring a solution that is effective for all sides and for all people, for the people of Israel and for refugees, and of course for Israel to have proper policy. And I understand you're doing a great job in that area. So thank you very much for the work that you're doing. Thank you very much for your time. We really do appreciate it, and thank you for joining us on SBS Radio.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me.